The Cowboys are in the middle of a major staff shakeup, and it is starting to feel like a full reset is underway. With Christian Parker stepping in as head coach, the defensive side of the ball is getting rebuilt from scratch, and that means some familiar faces are being shown the door. This offseason has been nonstop in terms of changes, and the big question is what all of this will mean for the identity of the team going forward. Parker is clearly trying to stamp his own vision on the staff, and that can only happen if he has the freedom to bring in coaches who share his philosophy and approach. It is not often that the Cowboys allow a new head coach that kind of autonomy, but we are in a new era now, and the organization seems willing to take that leap. One of the biggest stories emerging from this coaching carousel is the situation with Lunda Wells, who has been linked to multiple offensive coordinator openings, including a high-profile interview with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wells is currently at the Shrine Game as one of the head coaches, and he has also been connected to the Washington Commanders' offensive coordinator job. That role ultimately went to an internal promotion, and that outcome raised some eyebrows, because it felt like the Commanders were looking for a more experienced play caller. Instead, they chose a coach whose background is more aligned with quarterback development, which made the situation feel a bit uncertain. Now, with Wells in Pittsburgh interviewing for another coordinator role, the possibility of him leaving Dallas is starting to feel more real. The connection between Wells and Mike McCarthy is undeniable. Wells has been working closely with McCarthy since arriving in Dallas, and he has built a reputation as a coach who can develop players and handle responsibilities at a higher level. His resume includes experience in a variety of roles, from tight ends coach to offensive line assistant, and he has also spent time coaching at LSU and with the Giants. The leap from tight ends coach to offensive coordinator is a significant one, and it is hard to imagine the Cowboys standing in the way of that kind of career advancement. Wells has already shown that he is capable of handling more responsibility, and he has earned the right to pursue coordinator opportunities. What makes the situation even more interesting is the potential structure of the Steelers' offensive coordinator job under Mike McCarthy. It is possible that the role would be more of a non-play calling position, which could fit Wells' background and experience. McCarthy's history suggests that he may prefer to retain play-calling duties, but the modern NFL has seen more coaches delegate those responsibilities. If the Steelers do offer Wells a coordinator role that is clearly defined as non-play calling, it could be difficult for him to turn down. That scenario would create a real challenge for the Cowboys, because it would mean losing a key member of their offensive staff at a time when continuity and stability are valuable. From the Cowboys' perspective, they need to be prepared for the possibility that Wells could leave. And that means thinking about what comes next. If Wells departs, the team will need to decide whether to bring in a new tight ends coach from outside the organization or to promote someone from within. The NFL is full of examples of coaches being promoted to coordinator positions even when they do not have the traditional offensive coordinator background. And Wells fits that trend. His ability to develop players and build relationships makes him a strong candidate for advancement, and that makes him attractive to other teams. The Cowboys will need to weigh the value of retaining him against the reality that his career trajectory is pointing toward greater responsibility, shifting to the defensive side. The news about Aaron White-Cotton has been significant. He has accepted the defensive line coaching job with the Tennessee Titans, and his title includes run game coordinator. On paper, that title might sound like a promotion, but in the NFL, run game coordinator is often more of an added responsibility than a true coordinator role. It may not come with the full authority of a defensive coordinator position, but it does suggest that he will have a meaningful role in shaping the Titans' defensive identity. From the Cowboys' perspective, his departure does not feel like a devastating loss, because it gives Parker the chance to build his staff without being tied to a coach who was brought in under the previous regime. White-Cotton was clearly a coach who fit the style of Robert Saleh's scheme, and that was evident during his time in San Francisco and New York. He was part of the staff that brought that approach to Dallas, and he was effective in that role. However, the bigger question is whether his coaching style fits what Parker wants to do defensively. Parker is building something new, and it makes sense that he would want coaches who are aligned with his vision. The Cowboys could have attempted to keep White-Cotton, but they chose not to block his departure. That decision is a sign that the organization is committed to giving Parker the freedom to assemble a staff that reflects his identity as a head coach. One of the reasons this move makes sense is that it allows Parker to have real input. into the staff building process rather than simply inheriting a group of assistants. It is rare for the Cowboys to give a new head coach that kind of freedom, but we are in uncharted territory now. It is a new era, and Parker is being given the opportunity to set the tone and build the culture he wants. White Cotton leaving might actually be a positive sign that the Cowboys are serious about making a clean break and starting fresh, even though White Cotton was one of the few staff members who seemed like he could remain without causing friction. The larger picture suggests that this is the right move for the team's long-term direction. Looking at potential replacements, one name that has come up is Marcus Dixon, who is currently the defensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings. He has already interviewed for the Cowboys' defensive line coaching job, and his background includes time with the Rams and the Broncos, where he overlapped with Christian Parker. That connection is significant because familiarity and trust matter when a new head coach is assembling his staff. Dixon has been praised for his ability to develop players, which is a key quality for a coach working with a defensive line that carries high expectations. If the Cowboys are going to build a new identity on defense, they need coaches who can develop talent and create a strong culture. The one complication with Dixon is that he might not be available if other teams make offers. Washington recently hired Donnie Jones as their defensive coordinator, and Jones and Dixon worked together in Minnesota. That connection could create a scenario where Dixon is pulled in another direction, or it could create competition for his services. Still, he is a name to monitor closely because he fits the profile of a coach who could thrive under Parker and help build the kind of defense the Cowboys want to run. The staff building process is still ongoing, and the Cowboys need to move quickly to secure the coaches they want before other teams swoop in. On the broader staff front, there have also been several assistants let go, and none of them came as a surprise. Dave Bronzi, Andre Curtis, and David Overeat II, who served as linebackers coach, passing game coordinator, and secondary coach, respectively, have all been informed that they will not return. These coaches had strong ties to the previous defensive coordinator, and their departure is not shocking given the new direction the Cowboys are heading. It does raise questions about continuity, but it also creates the opportunity for a full reset if Parker is going to implement a new defensive philosophy. It makes sense to bring in coaches who are aligned with his vision rather than holding onto people because they are familiar. The fact that these coaches were part of the previous regime suggests that Parker is looking for coaches who are aligned with his vision rather than simply keeping people because they are familiar. It is worth noting that there are still four coaches under contract who could seek other jobs or stay if they want to. Names like Darian Thompson, J.J. Clark, Brian Bing, and Tanzel Smart are still in the mix, but none of them seem like guaranteed returns. J.J. Clark might have the best chance to stay because his background fits what the organization likes, but even he could be replaced if Parker decides he wants his own people in place. It is possible that none of these coaches return and that the Cowboys end up with an entirely new defensive staff next season. That might sound dramatic, but it could actually be the right move. A fresh staff can bring new ideas, new energy, and a new approach to a defense that has struggled with consistency. The key will be finding coaches who can develop players, build a strong scheme, and create accountability. That is the kind of foundation Parker will need if he wants to build something that lasts. The interview news keeps coming, and the Cowboys are looking at a number of young, up-and-coming defensive minds. Shane Bowen, the former Giants defensive coordinator, and Denzel Martin, the Steelers' outside linebackers coach, have both interviewed for roles. Both of these coaches are under 41 years old, which suggests that Parker is looking for coaches who can grow with him and bring modern ideas to the table. Bowen has experience under Mike Vrabel and has been a defensive coordinator, while Martin has worked his way up through the Steelers system and has been praised for his coaching development. All of this points to a potential shift in defensive philosophy, possibly toward more five-man front looks. Parker comes from a background with Vic Fangio, and many of the coaches he is interviewing have experience with five-man fronts. That could be a positive development for the Cowboys, given their personnel and the way the NFL is evolving. The difference between 4-3 and 3-4 schemes is less important than the overall defensive approach, but the emphasis on five-man fronts suggests the Cowboys may be trying to build a more physical, run-stopping identity. At the end of the day, this offseason is shaping up to be a pivotal moment for the Cowboys. Christian Parker is building his staff And the decisions being made now will define the identity of this team for years to come. The question is whether he can put together a staff that not only fits his vision, but also helps him maximize the talent on the roster. It is a big task, but it is also an exciting one, because it feels like the Cowboys are finally willing to embrace a new direction and give a coach the chance to truly build something. The coaching carousel is still spinning, and what stands out is that the Cowboys are not just making minor tweaks, they are reshaping the entire defensive identity. And that is a sign of how serious they are about starting fresh. The names being mentioned are not random. They represent a clear direction toward modern defensive thinking, one that values versatility, pressure packages, and the ability to adapt to today's fast-paced defenses. The Cowboys seem determined to bring in coaches who can create a cohesive philosophy, rather than just filling roles with familiar faces. That mindset could pay off if Parker is able to build a staff that thinks the same way and is committed to executing a unified plan. One name that keeps popping up in these conversations is Renell Williams. He has been on the Cowboys' radar for a while, and for good reason. Williams has built a reputation as a defensive coach who understands how to build pressure packages and develop a scheme that can adjust to different defenses. He has been noticed by other teams, which is why he has been linked to multiple interviews. The Cowboys considering him suggests they are serious about building a defense that can be aggressive without sacrificing discipline. That balance is something the Cowboys have struggled to find at times, and a coach like Williams could be the missing piece. His ability to blend pressure with sound coverage concepts is the kind of approach that could help the Cowboys take the next step. Another coach who has been generating buzz is Shane Bowen. Bowen's coaching journey has been closely tied to Mike Vrabel, and he has experience as a defensive coordinator at the NFL level. Some people question his performance in New York, but it is worth noting that he seemed more comfortable and more effective in Tennessee. That may indicate that Bowen is a coach who thrives in the right environment, and perhaps the Cowboys could be that environment if Dallas is looking for someone who can bring structure, discipline, and modern concepts to the linebacker room. Bowen could be an intriguing fit. He has shown he can manage a complex scheme, and that kind of leadership is valuable when you are trying to build a new defensive identity. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. Josh Allen has always been known for his poise and calculated approach on the field, but recent reports suggest the Buffalo Bills quarterback may be stepping into uncharted territory, with some surprisingly candid remarks about the Dallas Cowboys. Sources close to the team say Allen's comments, though brief, have sent shockwaves through the NFL, fueling speculation about potential matchups and rivalries that could reshape the playoff landscape. Insiders claim Allen didn't hold back when asked about the Cowboys' recent performances, hinting at both admiration and a subtle warning. He made it clear he's aware of the Cowboys' strengths, but he also left a strong impression that Buffalo isn't intimidated. One source revealed the remark, although seemingly innocuous, has been interpreted by analysts as a strategic psychological move, signaling that Allen may be preparing to make a statement when the two teams eventually face off. Fans have been quick to dissect every word, with social media lighting up as debates rage over Allen's intentions. Some speculate he may be sending a challenge to Dallas, asserting that the Bills are ready for a showdown. Others wonder if Allen's unexpected candor could spark tension between star quarterbacks, turning what might have been a routine game into a marquee rivalry moment. The ambiguity of his statement has only intensified the intrigue, leaving pundits and fans alike wondering whether it was a calculated mind game or simply Allen expressing genuine respect for his competition. Adding to the buzz, insiders suggest the timing of Allen's comment is no accident, with both teams jockeying for positioning in the postseason. Every word from a top-tier quarterback is scrutinized for hidden meaning. Could Allen be signaling a new level of aggression, or is he planting seeds of doubt in the Cowboys' locker room? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Josh Allen's reaction has electrified the conversation, and the NFL world is watching closely, eager to see whether this off-field remark will foreshadow a dramatic on-field clash. As the speculation grows, one thing is undeniable: Allen's words, whether calculated or spontaneous, have everyone talking. The next chapter in this developing story may very well hinge on how the Bills' quarterback translates his bold rhetoric into performance. leaving fans and analysts holding their breath for what could become one of the season's most talked about encounters. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.